So now I go into the tool, and let's imagine that I am a supplier to the fish farm industry and I want to do my carbon accounting for 2022. This might be because we have an internal decision to move towards net zero within 2050, and I want to guide my pathway and see where I am on the path to net zero. Or it might be because one of my customers have asked for how much emission it is in my operating. So first of all, I go to morescope.com, I click the login button, and I'm already logged in, so I should go in towards something that looks like this. Right now I'm logged in as what's called demo case. It's my company in this case. I am in the main module, which is the GHG Emissions module. As mentioned before, we also have some operating with the avoided emissions, ESG. We do the ESG due diligence on your customers, on your suppliers, sorry. And we also do ESG KPIs, and you have a view of your own suppliers here. But right now I'll focus only on the GHG Emissions module. I just also quick, you also see here some quick navigation. We also have this chat down here, so if you have any questions throughout your using, just ping me in the chat down here, and I'll answer you as fast as possible, or one of my colleagues. There's also some information tool up here as a notification, and you have a side panel to get information about the module you're in at every given time. But I'm in the 2022 inventory, or the year of 2022, looking into my emissions in this year. I can see that my total emission are 21,000 tons, so this is a quite big company. And scope 1 to 3 emissions are stated also throughout the period of months. I also have the percentage of all the emissions I have. Also drilled down in each subcategory of the GHG protocol. So we also have, within scope 1, we also have several subcategories. This is stated both in the amount, the percentage, and also divided between what's activity data and transaction data. So as mentioned in the last video, bottom-up data or spend calculation approach. I see also here that my total carbon accounting numbers are mostly spend-based. I have almost 1,000 transactions in the system. Also drilled down between different, I've defined also different offices. I'll show you quickly how to define that as well. Or there could be offices, could be departments, could be projects. And I have an overview of my top emitting suppliers. So just like a hotspot analysis, you can say, of my biggest suppliers in the sense of their emissions. So first of all, the user journey here, like this is already created, but I'll show you a little bit from the start how it's all set up. So the user journey usually start with the transactions page. That's why this is the second one. And what we've done here is that we've integrated with accounting software that I'm using in this company. Just a brief notice that in this case we're using anonymous data because we didn't want to show the data of this is the data of one of our customers, but we didn't want to show them, so we anonymized them and randomized a little bit the numbers and stuff. But here, for instance, in electricity supplier, you would expect to see the name of your electricity supplier, life insurance supplier, you will expect to see the name of your life insurance supplier, and so forth. So I see here the list of all my actual suppliers. For the period, this is the period 2022. We can also do this quarterly based and monthly based, this importation. The country they're operating in, the transaction amount, so the total spend I've had towards the supplier for this period. The sector that my supplier is operating within. The emission category, so this is like scope 1 to 3 category and subcategory that this transaction have been matched with. And the estimated emissions for this purchase. So we are using mostly the total amounts used for this supplier, We can also do a split here, so I can split this if I want to specify that this purchase is done between different sectors. Maybe one supplier is operating within several sectors. And sometimes we can also do this split automatically based on how we do the integration with your accounting system. But basically, the estimated emissions here, we also are very clear that this is an estimation, so it's not necessarily accurate. This is based on mostly the country, the sector, and the year this purchase is within. So, for instance, a Norwegian electricity supplier might have a different spend emission than let's say a Peruvian. So by changing the year, the country, and the sector, we will expect to get different numbers on the estimation. So this is all possible to change. It's all possible to go back on. We can split it up between them. Won't use too much time on showing all the functionalities here. But in the end, I go in, I double check this. I can see we're also quite honest about how the matches are. So in this case, it's a Norwegian supplier, but in the case that it's from another, and then we match with something in Norway called Brønnøysundregisteret, which is a big register of all companies. In the case we don't have that, we might use other registers, and sometimes we registers that are less accurate, or that we don't find the company anywhere, so we're using some kind of a machine learning model to do this matching towards country and sector. In the last case, we're quite honest about the matches. I can sort here on uncertain matches. There is some Norwegian company here as well. It might be because it's been deleted from the Norwegian registry. Some Chinese customers, and this is like a smart place to start double checking the accuracy of these numbers, and everything is on here. So I can go in there. I can define I can approve that this is actually Tunisia. That would also make it become green, and I need to work through this list basically. In addition, I can also sort it on the total emissions. I can sort it on total transactions. There we have a lot of filtering of this list, and you are able to edit basically everything except for the spend. So when this is worked through and I've moved this, now it's already moved to approved, but usually a new transaction will come to pending. I can exclude some if it's out of my what's called my organizational boundaries. But when I've approved them, this will be automatically placed in Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. So let's start with Scope 1 emissions. Here I see the subcategory of Scope 1. So if I open the mobile combustion, I see I have some matches here already with a manufacturer of industrial gases, wholesalers of solid fuels supplier. So this is basically the reason why these are matches is that if you purchase gasoline from a gas station, this will this is typical Scope 1 emissions. Like I'm filling up my car, I own or I operate this vehicle of mine. So these are matched here and counted up towards the total emissions of Scope 1.1. Here I can already see that I've done a little bit of work here. So in addition to this 3 transaction that's been matched here, I also have created already an emission source. So emission source, that's an activity-based approach. As I see here, I've already reported then, I did this earlier, that I purchased biodiesel, and I've actually purchased 5,000 liters of biodiesel throughout this year. So now we're in the area of activity based calculation approach, or using bottom-up data. I'm actually using how many liters of fuel I've used. The calculation itself is done by itself. You need to think too much about it actually. So I've just by selecting one of these fuels, I've already selected the emission factor. I can go into the emission factor and see what's the source of it and what is the exact factor. Sometimes we also have different variants of this factor that will be shown here. So if you know specific things or from a certain region, or sometimes we have the same factor but for different years, that will be shown under variance. And when I report on liters, I will automatically, everything will be calculated for me. I don't need to think too much about if the calculations are correct. I can also choose between reporting in liters or in barrels or whatever. And if I want to do this annually, monthly, or quarterly. So here I've already created some numbers. The important thing is that I have the possibility to change here. If I report monthly, then the dashboard will be more accurate over the months, of course. So if you've paid a bit attention and like following the system here, you also can imagine and see that we might be into some double counting here. So basically, I have purchased this amount of fuel. Let's make it simple and do this annually and say, yeah, purchased probably a bit more than this. I'm just throwing out some numbers here. But these 50,000 liters of biodiesel now is probably what's within the purchase I've done with one of these wholesale of solid fuel suppliers. So basically, this has been accounted twice now, so I need to make up for that somehow. And how we do this in the tool is that we can either right-click on the transaction, or we can just actually just drag and drop it. So let's say that this purchase here is actually when I purchased these 50,000 liters of fuel throughout the year. I can just take it, drag and drop it down to the emission source. And what will happen there is that I'm saying that the activity data, the bottom-up data, is more accurate than the transaction data. So the transaction data is not taken into account, and I'm only using the activity-based approach, or the what's reported on within the emission source. This is maybe not the perfect example of this, but in the means that I guess 50,000 liters of fuel, it costs more than 1.6 million kroners in this case, but you get the point. So this is the working process throughout the whole software. I go through all these transactions I've done that I've matched. So let's into fugitive emissions. Here, fugitives are basically gases. Could be gases leaking from my AC system. Could be stuff like that. And then I can also just report with this simple drop-downs. It's quite easy for me to find the right gas if I'm finding the invoice from my supplier in this case. For instance, in purchase electricity as well, I have the electricity factor of Norway in this case. Electricity is a little bit special since we're calculating both what's called location-based and market-based emissions. It's a finesse, or it's like a small thing from the GHG protocol that requires us to do it like this. We are using location-based as default, but you can change that as well. And the same thing. Actually here, the kilowatt hours I'm getting in this case directly from integration we do with the you can say like the Norwegian standard system for getting the consumption of electricity. So I don't actually have to fill this out. It's already filled out automatically. My only job is to double check and see that this electricity supplier is when I purchased. This is the electricity supplier for this meter, or for this målepunkt. So logic is the same. You follow the same concepts. You can get the insight to the emission factor, into the calculations. It's always transparent and visible. And while working on this in scope 1, 2, and 3, everything is automatically set. We also have, as you saw here on fuel related emissions, we also have an automatical inset for well to tank factors. This is like also, we'll not go into much detail about that, but that's we have some automation for this part as well. And while I'm working with this, the dashboard is always getting updated with the new numbers while I'm working. Here it's a lot of the emissions coming from purchased electricity is now moved from transaction-based to activity-based, and everything is going to be updated as I go. So final couple of things I want to mention. We can also export this dashboard. Either we can share it as a shareable link, so you can share this within your organization or out of your organization. I can create a report, which is a PDF report, or I can export it as a CSV file or like as an Excel file. I also here have a overview of all my other inventory, so like my other years. I can report and I can mark this as completed. And while it's getting completed, I will also get an overview of my emissions over time and how I'm actually able to cut them. Also want to mention that now I'm within the tool as a company, but if I am a part of a bigger organization, I maybe own other company, or I'm an investor that also want to have a view of more companies at the same time. We also have a feature for that. So as you've seen, my menu now is for the company, but if I'm able to switch between them, so I'm clicking this button, and here I can see I'm within the portfolio. I can have access to several different companies in this case, and on my portfolio dashboard, I'm able to see like the overview of the emissions for all my companies that I have access to. And this is like kind of like the common ground aggregation up to the fund level for the fund to see the emissions, where the hotspots for emissions are, and how it can be cut. So that was a short introduction to the Morescope tool. I hope you're interested. And if you're interested in more, if you have more questions or interested in more in-depth demo, then go to our webpage and book a demo. And we'll be talking when you have booked your time.